What's going on, guys? Welcome to this week on Vinny's Corner and the We Like Sports Show. Hopefully everybody has had a wonderful, wonderful weekend and is excited to discuss our little recap this week of the NFL Week 1. And then, of course, we will jump into a little bit about boxing as my man Canelo is fighting this weekend. But before we do that, let's jump to the intro.
Purdue as Mitchell looks for an answer.
Ooh, pure, nothing but net.
Garland to the basket, stole the inbound pass. He lays it in.
Basketball down there.
Very high percentage shot for him from that spot. Merrill for three. Tristan Thompson on the floor. Diaz for three. That's short. Hard rebound. Ricochets out to Merrill for three again.
For the We Like Sports Show, tune in and see the latest the crew has to say regarding the latest sports topics nationally and locally. Make sure to check out our website as well, WeLikeSportsPC.com. Subscribe on all platforms, including podcast platforms, YouTube, TikTok, and much more. And be sure to follow us on X at WeLikeSportsPC.
Started with Anderson and Ramirez.
He said, let's go, right? Yeah, I'm sure he wants the game to start, but they won't let it. And rightfully so.
What's going on, guys, and welcome back to Vinny's Corner with me and my special guest, Sophie Beans here. This is my little girl. She turns 4 months on Saturday. Say hi, Sophie. Hi, Sophie Beans. To the We Like Sports Show, and we're going to jump right into a weekly recap that we're going to be doing over the course of the next 17 weeks of the NFL, looking at the hottest teams. The power, we're going to rank all 32 teams, not just 5, not just 10. We're going to look at teams, all 32 teams, and then we're going to look at the best performances from newcomers to those teams. So we got a bunch to talk about today. Before we jump into that, I did want to just give a quick shout out to our sponsor, mybookie.com. If you go on to mybookie.com and punch in the promo code SPORTS with a Z, that is the We Like Sports exclusive promo code, they will match your bet up to $1,000. So again, check out mybookie.com. They are a sponsor of We Like Sports Show, and they are great option if you're into sports gambling. That being said, let's jump right into week 1, the NFL. So preseason, we had a kind of a power ranking for the 32 teams. After week 1, I'm going to just jump right in and say that my number 1 team, according to Vince's power rankings, is Kansas City. They won last year. They won the year before that. And they came out and they let us know exactly why they own the AFC when they went up against what most people would say is the number 2 team in the AFC, Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. It was an awesome game. You know, we saw exactly what a difference that defensive line can make for the Kansas City Chiefs. But I think I'd like to say for everybody, the big wow moment this week was Xavier Worthy. Oh, my goodness. That kid, when he got drafted in the first round, we knew he was going to be quick. We knew he was going to be explosive, but 2 plays greater than 20 yards, a pass over 30 yards. I mean, that's week 1, you know. What could this guy add to this team? Now they've got a deep threat that they may not have had before. So we may start seeing a lot more plays downfield instead of those, like, you know, kind of one-offs and just the quick dumps that Pat Mahomes has been kind of famous for, you know, just putting the ball where it needs to be. But now he's got a deep ball threat, a fast, young receiver in Xavier Worthy. So that's my number 1, and that's my newcomer performance number 1. Number 2 is pretty obvious. The team that lost to them in the Super Bowl last year. Last week, they were ranked number 3 because we had them behind the Ravens. But with that being said, right, this week, I think they really kind of went out, right? So Nick Bosa showed up, right? He had a sack kind of early on in the game. But more importantly than just what Nick Bosa did, Leonard Floyd, defensive end, coming on to the San Francisco 49ers this year. he really added a lot. So he had 2 tackles, but one of them was a sack. One was a pressure that kind of led to an interception later on from Aaron Rodgers. So, I mean, when you've got guys like that on the down line, that's pretty huge. And then our other standout, who's not a newcomer, so we didn't mention him right there, but definite standout performance would have to go to Jordan Mason. CMC is out. I'm not going to jump into that. You guys don't know what's going on with him. What's more important is the guy behind him who stepped up, who absolutely crushed it, over 100 yards rushing yesterday, touchdown to ground, touchdowns everywhere we were looking, right? Amazing performance. And so number 2 in the power ranking this week, led by Jordan Mason on the run game, was the San Francisco 49ers. Number 3, no surprise here. We're going to go with the Detroit Lions. Keep it with the NFC. So top 3, we got 2 NFC teams so far. And this one for me was this was a tough one, right? They went against a very tough team in week 1, right? And playing against the LA Rams. The LA Rams were hot and they came out and played a very good game, but it wasn't quite what they needed. You know, they got up there, they did well, but when you had guys like Terrion Arnold, you know, playing against Cooper Kupp and kind of shutting it down, it made it a lot harder for them. So that was our standout this week, was Terrion Arnold, the DB. He played a great game. He showed up for every play. He did a lot of cleanup that team may not have had. There might have been some sloppy plays, and that guy looked like he was out there for them for years. He didn't look like a newcomer, so he played awesome. And then number 4, we'll jump right into the Baltimore Ravens. So the Baltimore Ravens started out the rankings, most people's power rankings. They were like the second team for almost everybody, right? Everyone thinks the AFC is more powerful than the NFC. The only team that they're behind is the Kansas City Chiefs. So they were our number 2. Now, where normally we would be talking about Lamar Jackson and his running performances, I think the biggest newcomer to this team, again, not a newcomer to the league, but a newcomer to the team, was Derrick Henry. I mean, it just changes things a lot for them. Having Derrick show up early in the game, that really opens up drives for them. You know, like he easily had 8 carries for like 30 yards, maybe 5 for 17 yards. We had a couple of interesting plays. He scored a touchdown, but really what's important about it is that they have that dynamic threat now. So now you're not just looking at Lamar Jackson, right? Now you actually have to play that like a real option potentially. When you see somebody coming into that backfield, what are they going to do? They know that he can dump that off to Derrick, and Derrick can beat the fuck out. So that being said, that's our number 4. The only reason they're the number 4 is because they lost this week. If they had beat the Kansas City Chiefs, they would have probably been number 1. But they're number 4. And number 5 to round out, and you guys can tell that I'm an NFC fan, my number 5 team in the power rankings is a 3rd NFC team. It is the Philadelphia Eagles. So this, for me, is kind of a special thing. I'm a New York Football Giants fan. Raiders by marriage, as some of you may or may not know. But, hey, Sophie, let's get you up there. So let's make sure that screen can see my little Sophie being there. Get you up there, little girl. Is that a better seat for you? There she is. Now everybody can see Sophie Beans too, right? There you are. So number 5 was the Philadelphia Eagles. We heard it all season. As soon as Saquon made the move for my New York Giants, terrible, terrible decision. And now we're seeing, you know what? Let's just touch on this real quick. The Giants 2 years ago paid Daniel Jones. Guy's not a good quarterback by any stretch of the imagination. All the excuses are gone. We saw it week 1. The guy just isn't a good quarterback. And we didn't pay Saquon. Saquon ends up leaving a year later. Now he's at our arch rivals, the Philadelphia Eagles. Game 1, rushes for over 100 yards, has 3 touchdowns, 1 on the air. First player in 20 years to do that. The last time on that team was Terrell Owens. So, you know, I mean, what does that say for you? Big bungle by the Giants. Barkley stole the show in Brazil. He looked absolutely marvelous. And it's unfortunate that we're going to have to play this guy twice this season. But the Philadelphia Eagles as a team, they look like they're starting to get it back together. There were a lot of problems. They won a lot of games last year, but they weren't the Eagles we saw 2 seasons ago. I think that we're going to get that team back this year. I think the Eagles are a serious threat. I see them as more likely to be the Super Bowl than, say, the 49ers. But, hey, I'm an NFC East guy. So that's my top 5. And, of course, it rounds out with the Eagles and Saquon Barkley. Saquon, you'll always be a New York Giant in my heart. I love you, man. You're great. But you're a traitor. Number six, we go to the Houston Texans and CJ Stroud. This team's exactly what they're supposed to be, and they're only going to get better. A lot of people said last year, well, maybe that was just like a freshman year. It's not. This team is put together right. The defense is solid. The offense is now solid. And the offense made a huge move in the offseason, and they brought Joe Mixon in. Joe Mixon is as solid as it gets. You want a 1,000-yard rusher, you bring Joe Mixon in. That's exactly what they did, and that is my best newcomer performance for the Houston Texans. 159 yards and a touchdown. That is also my fantasy running back and my fantasy quarterback, CJ Stroud and Joe Mixon. Let's go, baby. And number 7, who we got for number 7? I don't even want to say it out loud. The Dallas Cowboys. But what can I really say? Week 1, the Cowboys were actually the underdog to the Browns. I'm not sure who the bookmakers are. I'm not sure where that decision came from. But as soon as I saw that as a football guy, I immediately went and just threw the bag on top of Cowboys because I knew the Cowboys were going to win. If you didn't, then you haven't been watching football for the last 5 years. I don't know what else to say about that. But, Dak has got his contract, highest paid man out there, right? CD got his contract. They're looking amazing. But I want to focus on the defense because, we've seen that their offense doesn't win championships. Maybe their defense can. So they had a really good performance. The guy's name says it all. Overshown. DeMarvion Overshown. Right? He had a sack. He had a tackle for a loss, 2 quarterback hits. He had 9 tackles on the day. I mean, just an eye-opening performance from this guy. Very excited to see what he brings to that to that defense week in and week out. Extremely, extremely exciting. I'm happy for the Cowboys. They should have a good season. My Giants aren't going to, but somebody should, right? Okay. And so the next group that we want to look at, this is a tough one for me. I do think they should be in the top 10. I have no real hope for this team. But this may just, again, be, my old school football mindset. Number 8, I've got the Buffalo Bills. I don't know how you feel about the Buffalo Bills, but I think this team is pretty good. They have been. I mean, in fantasy, Josh Allen is like top 1 or 2 every year. The team does pretty well for themselves, but honestly, what I think is probably the biggest thing they did for themselves, and I don't know, it's tough to say, but obviously, I think Marvin Jr. was huge. He only got targeted twice and had 1 reception last week, which is kind of crazy, but it seems that they've been doing some good stuff on the defense. Game 1 wasn't a great defensive, but you did see the adjustments by Babbage over the course of the game, and I think that it really helped out because they came out and they didn't look great, but they did fix some things. I like Babbage for them. I feel like he's a really good defensive coordinator. Again, my concern is just it's the Bills. I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, I take the Bills to lose, go to the playoffs and lose. So, that's me. Number 9, we're going to keep it in the AFC East, and right behind them is the Miami Dolphins. So the Miami Dolphins and the Bills both fell a spot this week. This team, it's kind of tough to say, they have a really hard time this last few seasons when playing against top tier competition. They usually beat up on shitty competition, but against the top teams, they don't play too well. This week, the first half, they didn't look too great. In the second half, though, what are we seeing here? Miami was held to 0 for 5 on 3rd down, forcing 3 and outs and a 4-play turnover on downs in 6 total series. They did start to pull things together. It really was the second half, I think, that they kind of got in there. And so again, I would give this to the defensive coordinator, for kind of pulling them together as a team. His name's Anthony Weaver. He seems to be doing an okay job, but I guess we're going to really see when they play like solid competition what it's really hitting for. So we don't know yet. Number 10, back to the NFC, and this one, this is the Los Angeles Rams. So, a lot of people have been concerned about them. They've had obvious concerns. They lost probably the greatest defensive tackle or, top 2 rated defensive tackles of all time. Matt Stafford's getting older. The team is getting a little bit older, but, they did go in to Detroit and they put on a hell of a game against Detroit. Looked like they were going to get blown out at first. came back, hung around for the whole game. The overall performance, Stafford's going to put it out there. And Stafford, that was like going home for Stafford. So that was pretty dope. The defensive highlight that I want to put on is Jared Verse, linebacker. He actually sacked Jared Goff in the game. But he did pretty good. His pass rush and edge rate were pretty high. I mean, like, he's getting to the quarterback like 30% of the time. So every couple of downs, he's getting to the quarterback. And that's huge for a linebacker. That's exactly what you need. So quick shout out to Jared Verse. Awesome. Best newcomer performance for our Los Angeles Rams. And then number 11, we got the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I don't know what you guys thought about the Steelers this week, but there were some obvious concerns. I think they pulled it out. They did what they needed to do. But why did they do well? What was it that did it? We know it wasn't the quarterback situation, right? We're already talking about, is it going to be Russell? Is it going to be Fields for week 2? So that wasn't it, obviously. One of the things we could highlight would probably be interception. We had a few guys out there, right? The defense played really well. So again, the Steelers are my defense for my fantasy league. I had them out there. They scored like 10 or 11 points for me as a defense. I can't complain about that. I'd like to give a shout out to Deshaun Elliott. He scored some points for me with that interception and a couple of passes he had defended. So he'll be my newcomer for this week. Pretty awesome stuff there too. Number 12, we're going to stick with the NFC here, right? I'm a big fan of how my NFC teams are performing. And we're going to look at the Green Bay Packers. Now, this team, you know what? I'm going to just jump into it. I don't really know what we do here, right? The defense looked great. So I would shout out the defense. I'm going to shout out the ex-Giant, Xavier McKinney. He's a great safety. He played great against them. He picked off Jalen Hurts, right? There's really not much you can say bad about the guy. I was really hurt when he left the Giants. He's played great for them. But now what we really want to talk about are what are these guys going to do? I hope my guy Isaac's listening right now. What are they going to do with Jordan Love? Who replaces him right now? What do they do? Do they? I've heard people talking about maybe go get Trey Lance. I've heard a few different things. I don't really know what the answer is. I'm curious as to what you guys think the answer might be. So if anyone's got any thoughts on that, comments, whether you're on Facebook, you're on X, you're on YouTube, I can see comments from everywhere. So give them up to me and we'll touch base on whatever you're thinking, whatever your thoughts are and concerns. But for me, that's the real big thing. I mean, the Packers are good. I like the Packers. I just don't know what they do now, right? You just lost your quarterback after you paid this guy all this money. You got a lot of people in there. There's huge talent. They can lean heavy on that run game, and I think they should. But who knows, right? I'm definitely gonna look at Josh Jacobs' numbers for this season. There might be some good future prop bets that you could put in on him, just because, well, quite frankly, where are they going to pass the ball? We don't know. And so number 13 in our list, and we haven't even made it halfway through yet. Sophie, what do you think so far? Thumbs up, thumbs down? Well, she's a Raiders fan, so she's thumbs down this week. But number 13, we're going to move in. So this is Tampa Bay Bucks. After this week, I don't want to hear anyone doubting my guy Baker Mayfield anymore. I'm sick of it. He completed 80% of his passes this week. Absolute legend. Absolute legend. This game was as tough as it gets. He played amazing. Now, I don't know. Maybe that's the offensive coordinator. Maybe they put together a better set of plays for him. So we're gonna say best newcomer performance, Liam Cohen, offensive coordinator, but best overall performance, my man Baker Mayfield. He rocked out with his out. It was pretty awesome to see, and they definitely moved up from last season. I'm excited to see what these guys are going to have offering for us. And to be honest, I still think that the NFC South is theirs to lose, but we'll see. So number 14, and this could be worse, but number 14 is the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm not sure what to make of that. Can somebody, give me a comment? Let me know. What do you guys think about that? I mean, the idea that the Cincinnati Bengals lost week 1 to the New England Patriots blew my mind. I certainly was not expecting that. I had a 6-game parlay picked out. It cooked for 5 games, but, number 6 was the Bengals. And so I lost, unfortunately, but these things do happen. Really what was just kind of striking about this game, I'm not sure what you say about it, but It just shouldn't have happened. How did the Bengals lose? I'm not going to highlight anybody. There is no best newcomer performance. Maybe the veteran Zach Moss did okay as a running back, but that's because they were stupid and didn't bring Joe Mixon back. You saw how that worked out. 159 yards week 1, team losing. I don't know what's going on there. So Cincinnati Bengals, get your shit together. Week 1, you're falling massive spots. You might be out of the top 20 by next week if we don't see a solid win. That was just kind of appalling. Next up for me, the New York Jets. 15 to me is being nice because I think that they're going to finish at the bottom of the barrel this year. I'm being totally honest. We saw their run defense get exposed yesterday. So, okay, if you can't throw at Sauce Gardner, what do? Pound the ball, right? Simple as that. So we know their weakness, and it got exploited massively by a backup running back, not even a starter. Okay? Massively exploited. That being said, I also don't agree with the 40-year-old quarterback as an answer. I still don't get that. Tom Brady won a title over the age of 40. It may never happen again. I don't know why they just assumed it would because he's Aaron Rodgers, but I think week 1 is an indication of a bigger problem. I don't think that this is like, oh, no worries, like this is okay. I think this is a symptom. I think this is what we're going to see, Jets football. That's just me. Best performance I saw was Tyrod Taylor and Lazard at the end of the game, hooking up for 2 touchdowns, 6 for 8 in the last 5 minutes of the game, and 2 tight. What do you say about that? Man's the man. Or Alan Lazard got 1 from him, and I think he got 1 from he might have got 1 from what's his name, from Aaron as well. But point is, 6 for 8. Tyrod Taylor, he was awesome. The reason I like him, he was a giant. I don't know why we give everybody away. They go somewhere else and do well. So now number 16 in the ranks for this week, and they're down a little bit. It's the Jacksonville Jaguars. And to be honest, I don't even know why they're in the top 20. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to end up just being a long-term bust. I don't see him as that quarterback. He has a good new receiver, and that's going to be the performance we highlight. 4 catches for 47 yards in an NFL debut by Brian Thomas Jr. That was pretty awesome, and he'll have Etienne to lean on. So hopefully, they'll get back together, but I'm really just not impressed with this team. For right now, they're number 16, but they should be closer to number 30, I think. Who knows? The Chargers have moved up this week to number 17 after a very solid performance against the Raiders. The Raiders, Sophie, let them know. Raiders Nation. That's how we do it. But it was definitely J.K. Dobbins. He broke free for 2 long runs. He looked awesome. A lot of people I see claiming him off waivers and stuff like that when it comes to fantasy. He's probably the guy. That's the guy for that performance. So we know what's got to be fixed out there on the Raiders' behalf. But the Chargers did move up this week 3 spots to number 17 as they were 20th last week. And moving down to 18th from 17th is the Chicago Bears. Why do you ask, are the Bears moving down? Well, not because of special teams and not because of defense, but the offense doesn't look like it knows where it's going right now. Now, granted, there's a new quarterback there. There's new receivers there. This is a whole new offensive system they got working. So I expect to see this team kind of pull together. But for this week, I definitely think they fell a little bit. The offense looked like absolute trash after week 1. I do think they're going to finish way higher this season. I see Caleb having nothing but upside. But for this week, the best newcomer performance, we're going to go with the safety, Jonathan Owens, for the return and for returning a blocked punt. Let me get the words out correctly. That was dope. Awesome. Number 19, up from 22 last week, and a great performance this weekend. And I'm going to give it actually to the head coach for the newcomer performance, Mike McDonald. Absolutely stellar job in his debut with the guys against Bo Nix. I mean, they absolutely made him look like a rookie, right? Seattle looked great. I love to see it. I went to WVU with my man Geno Smith. So the Seattle Seahawks, they're up to 19th this week. And rounding out the top 20 for the week, what are we doing over there, Sophie Beans? I call her Little Miss Drooly Pants. I don't know if you guys can see, but the whole top of her shirt is covered in drool. Covered in drool. I wish I could drool that much. Right? So the Indianapolis Colts, last week, we had them at 18. I I didn't really see a lot that was great from Anthony Richardson this week. He was kind of concerning. Adonai Mitchell, he was probably the newcomer of the week for this team. But again, Anthony Richardson seems to be regressing, if anything. Like his throws just are not on target. I don't know what's going on there. Maybe I'm wrong, comment, let me know what you guys think. But for me, Indianapolis Colts round out the 20. And then in a huge fall from last week, the Cleveland Browns. So kind of, here's what I'm hearing echoed by everybody. Who do we want to play quarterback next week? Nobody seems to be saying that they want Deshaun Watson to play quarterback next week. Now, I think that's fine. The guy's a bust. We know that. He's a huge waste of money. It's time to bring in the backup. What's his name? Winston, right? Get it done. I just don't see what the point is in keeping this guy around. But, the contract's there. You got to do it. It is what it is. I'd say that probably this week's standout performance for them, the newcomers, would have to be Jerry Jeudy. But Jerry Judy's a stud. We knew he was going to be good there. At least I knew he was going to be good there. So, I don't know what you guys were thinking, but I kind of saw that one from a mile away. 22 is the Minnesota Vikings. They stay right about where they are. Last week they were 23. They moved up a notch because they dominated the Giants. But more importantly, what the fuck? Sam Darnold, 15 for 17 of his first, 15 out of his first 17 passes complete. He was just a wizard. I'm sure Jefferson makes him look good, but he was just good. This is the Sam Darnold that the Jets wanted. This is the Sam Darnold the Panthers wanted. This is not the guy that anyone thought they were going to get. I wish we had him on the Giants at this point because, quite frankly, he kicked our butts, and the Minnesota Vikings did awesome last week. Up a little bit higher this week from 25 to our 23rd spot is the New Orleans Saints. The New Orleans Saints kicked butt last weekend, so I don't know what you guys thought about it, but, Will Harris, free agency signing in the offseason. He immediately picked off Bryce Young early in the game on his first pass attempt. Just kind of set the tone for the game. You already knew what it was right there. Bryce, go home. You're not NFL quality. This team, I don't know what they are. Get them out of here. Next up, the New England Patriots. The New England Patriots are all the way at 24. They were ranked 30. They were one of the worst teams coming in. And then they went out and beat up on the Bengals. Head coach Gerard Mayo, awesome job. I don't really know what else you say. Brissett, you did your thing. It was awesome to see. The Patriots won a game, and they did it against the Bengals. I was surprised. Absolutely. What's wrong, baby? You want a bottle? Hold on, guys. My baby's getting a little cranky here, guys. Don't you worry. Here's what we'll do, though. What we do need to do? We need to shout out one of our other sponsors real quick. So if you're in the gym and you like to work out like your boy Vince does, and you need a little pick-me-up for when you're in the gym, check out our sponsor, Dubby, www.dubby.com. Now, Dubby, what you can get is a pre-workout, and that pre-workout comes at 10% off if you use the We Like Sports promo code. Again, that's sports with a Z. We Like Sports for our partners at Dubby. All right. Thanks, guys, on that. And we'll continue running right down the list. So now we're at number 25, 25 on the list, the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons, the only reason you're not 32 is because the Giants are. No, I'm only kidding, but they look terrible. There's really nothing to say about it. They look terrible. Defense was better than the offense, but the offense looked absolutely terrible. The Steelers made them just look ridiculous. Kirk Cousins, get him out of here. It's time to go to the young blood. But just my opinion, great contract for Kirk Cousins. Right. Number 26, the Arizona Cardinals. They're up from 29. And to be honest, I think this team only better. Running back DJ Dallas, he had a fantastic day. He looked good. The 96-yard kickoff return for a touchdown in the fourth quarter, that was huge. It absolutely pulled things together for them, even though they still did lose. Again, Kyler Murray, the guy is solid. He's an athlete. Hopefully he can get it done now that he's got Marvin Harrison Jr. So that's my team at 26. Number 27, we got the Tennessee Titans. Hold on, baby cakes. Let's get you up here with that. All right. And Tennessee Titans are number 27. This team really didn't do anything too impressive. They were kind of just there, whatever. I don't really have anything positive or negative. They fell a couple of spots, but that's just because they don't have it yet. I don't know when they're going to get there, but they're going to, I'll be honest. I was just trying to get to number 28, the Raiders. So Brock Bowers probably had the best new performance. Really though, what stood out for me is the team just couldn't get it together. Like, I don't know, man. I was expecting a better week 1 against a division rival. That was a really disappointing game for me. I'm not sure what the immediate fix is. I'd love to hear some people's feedback on that, but I feel like the Raiders had a really tough time, but the standout performance on that game was definitely Brock Bowers. He had something like 6 catches for 58 yards. It's exciting to see. He's only going to get better. Number 29, number 29 is the Washington Commanders. So the Washington Commanders, I don't know what you say about this team. I mean, the newcomer for me, for sure, it's Jaden Daniels. I think he's going to be good. I think he had a lot of bright spots, but there's just a lot of work to be done on that team. They're in the NFC East. So, I think that they could be better, but I don't think that they're in a bad position right now at all. The only reason they're ranked as poorly as they are is because they haven't really shown out yet. And then number 30, and it's this is a surprise, but I mean, you saw the same thing I did. The Denver Broncos, like, what the fuck was that this week? I don't even know. I don't know. The run defense just got shredded down the way. I don't know. I mean, they didn't look good. Like, I don't see that team doing, they moved up. They were 31 last week. 31 this week is the New York Football Giants. Worst team I've ever seen. And so we'll jump right to them. You know what? I don't even know what to say about this team. This is my Giants. I love them. I will never run away from my Giants. But it's time to move on. It's time to move on. The play calling was atrocious. Dayball, you need to adjust. We need to make some moves on offense. The play calling was just absolutely horrendous. You looked like you were content with nothing. Danny Jones, what the fuck, bro? What the fuck? Guy just looks like a nerd trying to play quarterback at this point. He's not good. We've tried. We put every excuse out there. I expect something from this guy. There's no more excuses. We need to see it now, and we need to see, we need to get closer to 500. Win 8 games. Win 8 games, and I won't cry. But right now, they're absolutely terrible. And I'm a Giants fan. You know what? But I would say that probably the highlight of this week was Drew Phillips. So he had 4 tackles, 1 for a loss and a forced fumble. He's a new player. He's young. That's exactly the kind of talent we need. The defense isn't really my complaint. They just get worn down because the offense ain't doing shit. So, Giants defense, keep keeping on. Giants offense, go fuck yourself. Pardon my language, guys. I know this is a family show, but my daughter can't understand anyway yet. Are you falling asleep? Sophie Beans is falling asleep on me. Uh-oh, Sophie Beans. You fell asleep on the show? Whoa. Okay. Anyhow, and guys, so rounding out my 32, exactly as you expected, if you're a football fan, and I'm sure you watched it this week, the Carolina Panthers. It's time to just get rid of this franchise. I don't even know I don't know what they do with this franchise. I guess Carolina's got a good face. I don't know, but they are terrible. They continue to be terrible. No matter what they do on this team, it is terrible. From the front office back, it just stinks. So get rid of everything. We need a fix. We need you to do something different. Make football exciting for Carolina fans again, because right now it's embarrassing. You guys lost to a division rival by 37 points on week 1. What do you want me to say about that, guys? There's only so much that Vinny can say, right? Right. So what do we think about for week 2? Let's jump right over to my week 2 predictions. If you are a betting guy, let's see what we can get going here. Give me a second, guys. We're gonna pull up the week 2 schedule. NFL. There we go. NFL home schedule. Boom. What do we got here? Oh, this is wonderful. Oh, this is week 1. Let's get week 2. Week 2. Here we go. All right. Here we go. All right. Let me schmore this up a little bit. So this week's picks by Vince. All right. Let's see what we got here. All right. So we start out with Miami at Buffalo this Thursday night. They're at Miami, so I'm going to take Miami. I do think that Miami is a better team, and I think that they got a little bit better on defense. But I just think Buffalo stinks, to be honest. So I don't know. This is a good one. Right now, Miami is favored, not by a lot, but they are favored. And I'm going to take Miami on that one. On Sunday, we've got – and so, like, if I was a betting guy, what I would actually take for the Miami game, I might not take the line. The line is 2.5. What I would take is the over-under. I would take the over. It's 48.5. Buffalo and Miami. Tyreek's going to have like 3 touchdowns himself. And Lord knows what Buffalo's going to do. So that's my opinion. I'd go with the over. Next up, we got New Orleans at Dallas. New Orleans looked good, but Dallas is a regular season beast. You know, you saw how they played week 1. I think Dallas blows them out. The line is 6.5. I think Dallas covers that easily. And I think that they hit the over too on 45.5. So for me, Dallas Cowboys all the way, NFC East. My daughter fell asleep in the middle of the show. Isn't that awesome? Love it. So that's my pick for that one. Next up, we got Tampa Bay at Detroit. So now, guys, this one is Detroit -7. I'm going to be honest. I don't buy it. I know Detroit is good, but I think that Tampa Bay can beat that. I do. We got a nice rematch from last season's playoffs. I'm taking Detroit to lose this game. I think Tampa Bay wins this game. And I do think it's going to be on the over. 51.5 is the over. But on the money line, I take Tampa Bay. Indianapolis and Green Bay. I don't know. This is a tough one. Indianapolis is favored. I think that if Green Bay is smart and they rely on their run game, I think that they can beat up on Indianapolis. And with Indianapolis favored by -3, I would definitely take Green Bay on the spread. Just me. Jets at Tennessee. This is a pretty big bounce back game for the Jets. They need to win this game. It's a must. You can't go into Tennessee after getting trounced like that by the 49ers and lose to Tennessee, right? That would be ridiculous. That's how guys like me became Giants fans to begin with. So, to me, this is a Jets game all day. Line is -3.5. I've taken the over on 40.5 as well. And I do think the Jets will cover the spread on this too. Next up, we got San Francisco and Minnesota. This is a tough one. Minnesota's not good. San Francisco should smoke them, even at home. But I don't know. I mean, San Francisco's defense has some gaps in it. We saw that this week. It's going to be about the pressure from that defensive line. 2-3 sacks. If they get more than 3 sacks, it's over. Darnold will be too flustered. It won't happen. But it could go either way. I'm still going to take the 49ers, just not on the spread. I would take them on the money line. Seattle and New England. This one's a little bit of a head scratcher, but that's only because New England played so well in week 1. But I'm taking Seattle. Run game looks sick. I'm a big fan of Locke, and I'm a big fan of Geno Smith. I think that this game is theirs to lose, especially at a 3.5 line. I'm taking Seattle on the spread, and I'm taking the over at 37.5 points. Actually, I might not take the over-under on that. I have to look. But definitely Seattle on the spread. All right? New York Football Giants at Washington Commanders. The spread is only 1.5 for the Washington Commanders. I would bet that. I think Washington's going to beat us outright. 1.5, I think that's doable. You know, I think they win by a field goal or right around there, like 1 to 3 points. So, I could see that. The Giants, I don't know. I think we might lose every game this season, unless we're playing Carolina. So I don't know where do we go with that. Los Angeles Chargers at Carolina. I take the Chargers. Spread is 6.5. I take that. Over under. I don't know. Carolina might not score, so it could be the under. But next game up, Cleveland and Jacksonville. This is a game that I think Jacksonville could win and should win because Cleveland, what the fuck was that in week 1? I don't know. But I wouldn't take the line. I'm going to take the money line on that. I wouldn't take the spread. And I would leave the over-under on this one too, because that could go either way. Las Vegas at Baltimore. This is rough. I mean, Baltimore wins this game, right? There's no other way to go about that. But with that being said, I'm a Las Vegas Raiders fan, so I'll still probably bet on the Raiders. But I would definitely take the over on this one, 41.5. I think that both teams collectively will cover that. And I would go with Baltimore. Maybe not the spread, definitely the money line. The spread's at 9.5 now, although they definitely could blow that out the water. Rams and the Arizona Cardinals. The Rams should win this game. I don't think there's any question about that, but you never know. This is at home. It's for Arizona. Arizona could pull it together. Now, maybe they start to show off MHJ a little more. I don't know. But for right now, I'm taking the Rams, especially with Arizona being favored by -1.5. I'm taking the Rams all day on that. It sounds like a bargain to me. Pittsburgh and Denver. Denver's going to get blown out, and it's going to get done probably by Russell Wilson. Oh, no, wait. Justin Fields is starting this week. Justin Fields is going to blow them out, and I'm all for it. I can't wait. I hope this kid has a great week. I'm very excited to see it. I wanted him to be the starter to begin with. So, pretty exciting stuff. And, we'll see what happens there. Now, on the line, what do they got? -3. I think Pittsburgh covers that, -3. I would take the line. Over-under is 36.5. I don't know. I mean, Pittsburgh's defense might shut these fools out. But so let's just leave that at 1. I'm not going to touch the over-under there. Bengals and Kansas City. This is tricky, right? The kryptonite for Pat Mahomes has consistently been Joe Burrow. But what the fuck was that last week, Cincinnati? There's no way I'm taking Cincinnati to go in there and beat Kansas City. I don't care what's been happening the last couple of years. Kansas City -6. They cover the spread, 47.5 points. I'm taking that spread, that and the over. But Kansas City for sure. No question there. And last but not least, the Chicago Bears. Actually, there's 2 more games. Excuse me. It's the last game on Sunday. The Chicago Bears are going to be playing the Houston Texans. The Bears defense is solid, but I think that the Texans are going to smoke them. Okay? I'm taking the spread at 7. I'm taking the over at 45.5, and I'm probably taking some prop bets because my man Joe Mixon's going over 100 yards again. Just so you heard it first here. Joe Mixon killing it this season. All right? And last but not least, we got the Dirty Birds going into Philadelphia territory. Atlanta's going to get blown out of the water. If Philly plays half the game they played in Brazil, they smoke this team. If they play a third of that game, they still probably win. The spread is 6.5. I'm taking the Eagles for that. I think the Eagles win this game by 10 to 14 points. So touchdown to field goal, 2 touchdowns, something to that effect. That's what I expect to see. The over-under is 47.5. Let's take the under and say that Atlanta is going to get shut down on offense. Bijan, what do you say about that? So that's what I'm thinking. I could be wrong. I don't know. But listen, guys, it's almost that time. And before we do shut it down, I did want to get to what really means the most to me, boxing. Okay, guys? So once a year, we have a big fight. We have a lot of big fights. But the big fight that I care about is this weekend. My man Canelo is back. The Mexican Marauder, the king of boxing. King Canelo has returned. He fights this Saturday night against an undefeated Puerto Rican from New York City. And I'm a New York Latino, so I should be on Berlanga's side. But I just can't turn back on my guy Canelo. Not today, not ever. So why this is so awesome, the undercard, right? So the preliminary fights are going to be on Amazon Prime Video totally free. So if you're into it, jump on Amazon Prime Video. And while you're there, what you guys will be able to do if you follow Vince at X, it's at Vin, QUEZADA, the number 1 on X. What you can do is you can jump into our live watch party space for the Canelo Berlanga fight this weekend. On that card, there are a lot of great fights. There are at least 2 or 3 belts going up this weekend. There are 4 or 5 former champions or current champions fighting. Caleb Plant Guy's an absolute beast. He buries people. He's fighting this weekend on the same fight card against a guy named Trevor McCombie. I expect him to murder this man. Not only that, Rolly Romero is back. Rolly's always exciting. No question about that. And then we got Danny Swift Garcia from Philly fighting against my Dominican brother, Arizmendi Lara, this weekend, trying to become a champion one more time before he hangs it up. So this is like a boxing. And now I know my MMA guys out there, you're thinking, Noche UFC, the heck with boxing. But you know what? This is Canelo's weekend. It's still Canelo's weekend. It's going to be Canelo's weekend for another couple of years. All right, guy? So, Noche UFC and everything else, I'll probably watch that too. Don't get me wrong. But Canelo is where it's at this weekend. So if you do have Amazon Prime, the fight card kicks off. The main card kicks off at 5 p.m. Pacific time. The preliminaries kick off at 3 p.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern. So there will be a lot of stuff going on this weekend, especially for boxing and MMA. If you're a fan of, follow Vince on the socials. You'll be able to catch up with me there, find out a little bit about what's going on in the fights. And then, of course, if you ever want, you can always pick my brain on what's going on for this NFL stuff. And then last but not least, just kind of one last thing I wanted to touch on before we leave for the day. What's going on in the major leagues today? Major League Baseball. What is happening in Major League Baseball? And that, to me, is the last question of the day. For me, baseball has been a tough spot, right? The Phillies and the Yankees are who I picked to go to the World Series. But will it happen? I don't know. A lot of people think the Dodgers should make it. I don't know. What do you guys think about it? Do you think that the Yankees and the Phillies are the number one teams and primed for a World Series run? Or who do you think, right? The Dodgers and who? Who's that other team? Who do you think is that team? Do me a favor. When you got some time, chime in on the socials. And don't forget to watch out this week. We Like Sports, PC.com. We have articles coming out every day. And every Sunday is the Sunday Snooze You Lose pick from the Black Bookie himself, Uncle Joe. Always check out theblackbookie.com for the latest on those bets. And you can also check my page at VinCasado1 on X, because I will have his article posted Sunday morning, first thing, right? So if you want to tail to get those bets in, make sure you do it. All right, guys? And, of course, any feedback on the socials, we'll have this show up live for podcast and to listen on iTunes, Spotify, and all that stuff overnight. So make sure you give it a listen. And, again, guys, this has been Vinny's Corner. Thank you from me and baby Sophie. We'll see you guys next week. Take care.